MomFit with Joe Peters. Welcome to the Her Network and the the Her Network and the Spanglish Network on single TV channels 250 and 251. Please remember to download the Single TV app in all the respective app stores in iOS and Android devices. While you are downloading, make sure to rate and leave a comment. The app is free. Single TV is also available on Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire, Fire TV, Roku, and Roku Stick in all smart TVs since 2016. And if you are not following me yet, please make sure to go to Instagram and Facebook and follow Joe Unicorn Coach. I handle my social media accounts personally, so I will be able to answer you. And if you have any question, any challenge, any issue that you need extra support and I don't know the answer,
Mhm.
I will find an expert like a Stacey that come to the show and we are going to help you because the mission of MomFit is to help you to win the marathon of motherhood without burnout. Now, with that being said,
Mhm.
I am super excited to have a she is being my coach, my mentor, my friend, my soul sister, somebody that I deeply admire and
Mhm.
take as one of those leading lights on how to make the world a better place. Best-selling author and double certified coach Stacey Yates Sellars. She create Happier by the Minute to break down the research and the rigor of positive psychology and conscious parenting into bite sizes morsels. Because let's gonna be honest, we moms don't have time for more than bite size information that is easy to digest for busy, stressed out parents. Her motivational content began with 1 minute video. I mean, you cannot tell me that you don't have 1 minute to see a video. And
Yeah.
grew into a top rated happiness podcast, life changing masterclasses, engaging workshops, private and group coaching, and international speaking engagements. Stacey has over 20 years of personal improvement and child development experience. But when she became the mom of a child that was diagnosed with ADHD and in the autism spectrum, she decided to immerse herself even deeper into research and application. She has had such great success with her children that she knew she had to share the secret that she found of raising healthy, happy children with other parents. With over 10,000 followers and people that she impacts, she has positively impacted thousands of parents and children, improving relationships, decreasing stress, and saving children from years of therapy later in life. She currently is a nomad with her beautiful husband Barry and is world schooling their two boys Dashiell and Declan. They are
Yeah.
currently in Scotland, but being nomads, they never know if they are going to be in your backyard in the next time. I am super excited to have you here, Stace. You are doing such an amazing job. Preparing for the show, I was actually reviewing some of the reviews that you had, and I was so touched to read the stories and the things that the moms share when they work with you, when they do your courses, when they actually start finding what is possible for them and their families. And I'm actually going to see if I can find it really quickly because I was almost in tears.
Because
um
it's so different than what, most of the time it's just strategy, 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 but this is about mindset. And when you come at it with a different angle, I mean, the whole point is when you change the way you look at things, meaning your child, the things you look at, meaning your child, changes. So when you look at them differently, they behave differently. But it
and I love
starts
it.
with us.
One
Yeah.
of those moms was saying, this is the most incredible inside thing that happened to me was working with the Stace. Stace is full of hope and provides key steps to move forward for me and my daughter. This is a life changing experience. So, Stace, I am super excited to have you here, and
Thank
let's
you.
gonna just dive in. I have something super excited to tell you that I was surprised that this never came up to us. But I know how we talk about ADHD diagnosed. We're going to be talking about neurodiverse. God sent it. Today I learned that
Yep.
the ADHD in Spanish is called tada. Tada! Tada! I thought that was perfect for the show today because it's that mindset of changing, seeing it as something that is an issue to something that is a tada, a
I
good thing.
love it. I love it. I actually have changed it in the English language too, to instead of ADHD and attention disorder deficit, whatever those words are, to a dear human developing. Let's just look at them differently instead of a disorder deficit, any kind of challenge. Let's look at it as it's just a young person who is ta-da, a dear human developing.
Now let's gonna go back into that because that is something slowly for all the moms that are, and I will even say, correct me if I am wrong, but I will say it's not even if your child is in the neurodiverse spectrum. I think that
Yeah.
if you know somebody that is neurodivergent, if your friends, if your family had somebody like that, how empowering is that we all start switching that label for the one that stays safe. So say it again slowly. So
A dear human developing. And this, by the way, is for every child. And people are being diagnosed with autism and ADHD in their 20s, in their 30s, in their 60s. So let's just treat everybody this way. Let's just treat every child this way, as if they're not naughty, they're just not knowing. We just have to assume, instead of assuming the worst, that they're manipulating us and they're being bad kids and they're being, disruptive behavior. Let's just go a step before that and look at they're just communicating. They're not communicating well, but they're communicating something. And the only way they learn how to communicate well is if we teach them. And if our way of teaching is by threatening, by punishment, by yelling, what are we going to teach them? We're going to teach them that the way to communicate is by threatening, by yelling, so if we teach them that to communicate, take a breath, get quiet, tell me what you need. And then, self-regulate yourself, deregulate, de-escalate, get back to a place where you can communicate. And then let's solve it. Let's just solve the problem. But we're so focused on what are we supposed to be doing? What are the, stories that we've learned from our parents and our religion and our society and our culture? What are we supposed? It's supposed to look like they sit still and they're nice and they're polite and they're kind. And I heard another mom the other day. Her daughter wouldn't leave the house, and she was under the bed in my house, and she was like, "You're embarrassing me." And I was like, "No, she's not. She's just trying to communicate that she doesn't want to leave." What you're saying as a mom is, you're making me look like I'm a parent that's not in control of my child. And there might be a lot of parents that would think that, but not me. I look at it as a child that's trying to communicate something, and we just don't quite know what it is yet. So I got her out from under the bed. I said, "Leah, tell me what's going on. Why don't you want to go? Like, what's happening?" And she said, because the kids were trying to plan a sleepover. And they were saying, I'm staying under the bed. I'm sleeping over here. There's no way anybody's changing it. And the parents were like, "No, not tonight." And the little girl said, "Because parents always promise a sleepover and it never happens." Ooh, I said, "Wow, thank you so much for telling me that. Now it makes sense why you don't want to leave, and why you don't believe us when we say we'll plan it." I said, "Let's go get a calendar right now." And she was like, "What?" I mean, there were three other kids here, all planning the thing, everybody crying and being grumpy about leaving. They all ran into the living room. I got a calendar. I got my calendar, a paper calendar. I was like, well, we can't do it tomorrow. I can't do it Thursday. And I was like, looked at the moms. I said, I can do it Friday. And they were like, Friday, okay, yeah, we think we can do it Friday. I looked at the kids and I said, Friday, that's 2 sleeps. And they were all like, yeah, let's go home so we can sleep now and get to Friday. And they ran out the door. Like, that's it. Instead of get out of the bed, get out from under the bed right now. You're going to lose your iPad. I'm not going to give you any ice cream later. You'll never have a sleepover. Like, it was just such a different experience for that child, because as soon as she saw that somebody was like, let me listen. Why? Okay. I hear you. Let me build some trust with you. Let me plan it right now.
I love that. And I love how seeing it with a dear human developing give us that compassion of what you are saying. Because and you and me know this, is it takes us 27 years to fully develop our brain. So when we start saying, oh, yes,
Yeah.
they are not communicating very well, but they are communicating, and then we attach that with they are not communicating very well because they are developing, because they don't have all the tools to communicate. And actually, I am 40 years old and I still have issues to communicate properly in some circumstances, right? So
Absolutely.
let's gonna talk a little bit about that initial feel of a mom, because one thing that scares me, and I want to hear your opinion, is how earlier it's almost like every year is earlier and earlier that these labels are attached. Like, I've been seeing moms of 14 months old, 16 months old,
Yeah.
18 months old already being labeled as
Yeah.
neurodivergent, human developing in the autism spectrum. So
Hmm.
let's gonna talk about what happened when that diagnosis comes. And actually, I want to hear your expertise with that. Like, how effective is to already label a baby that is just a baby? Like, I will tell you,
Yeah.
with my baby took a long time to speak.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
if I was going to just label him into the standard of, oh, you need to be doing it by
Yeah.
14 months, and if not, I'm gonna put you in therapy and you have a delay and all that, instead I just um talk all the
Hmm.
variables. And it was amazing. It says he started speaking 1 month after his second year, and
Yeah.
now he's a parrot. Like, it's
You
amazing
can't
how
get him
many
to
things he
stop
talks.
talking.
But it
Hmm.
can be scary, right? When a white coat doctor comes and tell you your child had this label. One of the things that come for us moms is fear of,
Yeah. Yeah.
is he broken? He's not
Hmm.
going to feed. What is the impact? So what is that about, understanding that our child is not broken? Even if we
Hmm.
have that diagnosis, it doesn't matter, like you were saying, if we was diagnosed at 17 years, or if we diagnosed at a year and a half, or at 5 year, how moms can start handling that label and start understanding how they can act and work towards helping their dear human to develop properly.
Yeah. You have to remember, a diagnosis is not a sentence. It is an explanation. It is just merely an explanation. It may not even be the right explanation. I don't really hold a lot of value in it. It depends on how you receive it and what they say about it. It does sort of put on a different lens for you, so you can see a little bit more clearly what that stop sign says, and a little bit clearly what that root sign says. And you can you certainly get more services. Use it to your advantage. Don't use it to the disadvantage of the child. We really believe in strength based parenting, right? So it's funny, I told somebody that my child was diagnosed with autism through a text, giving him an update, and they wrote back, "I'm so sorry about your son's diagnosis." And of course I wrote back, "Never apologize to anyone. If anything, your response should be, that is amazing that now you have some clarity, and they can see that what the challenges and the gifts are with the brain that they have." But the reality is that neurotypical children and typically developing, and even in autism, the spectrum is so wide that everybody is has different challenges and different strengths. So even to put them in this box of, well, now they have autism, so they're going to be hyper focused and really smart and gifted, is not what it is for me. So it's not even like I can say, oh, he's going to be a brilliant scientist, because he has Asperger's. And they don't even use Asperger's anymore, because I think people did move in that way. So it is literally changing every day. So I wouldn't get hung up on any labels and any definitions, because you're right. The first thing it does is it frightens people, which it shouldn't. It just should look like a road sign, just like a road sign. There might be deer crossing the road somewhere, on the next 10 miles. I don't know. There might be, there may not be. So it gives you a little bit of a warning, but it isn't a sentence that, oh my gosh, they're ADHD. They're never going to be able to sit down. They're never going to be able to do any homework. They're never going to be able to read. And then, of course, as parents, they're going to become homeless. They're going to become drug addicts. We're going to have a horrible relationship. And then, of course, at the end of all that is because I was a bad parent. Like, oh my God, we've just given ourselves this whole, fairy tale of horrors of what it's going to be. So if you can, again, look at the word without judgment, just like we don't want to look at our children with judgment, just look at the word as a signpost. Like, okay, I might want to follow that direction. I might want to, it says that we're going to, you can go off right on this next off ramp. And, let me look it up. Let me look at what that's going to look like. And if I want to go on that off ramp, I don't know. Like when I started, oh, I didn't believe in ADHD. I don't believe in medication. And I was very tied to my beliefs and my conditioning and my stories. And for many years, I was Dashiell's conscious, and I was always one step ahead of him, and I was always helping him make decisions, and I was always trying to make sure he wasn't getting in trouble. Not very well, because it's just the nature of it, and the nature of the people around you. And the doctor was like, wow, you guys are working so hard. Imagine if you could take a little bit of that pressure off. And when you look at it, like if your child had, if you could measure ADHD or autism on some sort of scale that they're like +248 or -729 on the right side of their brain, just like with eyesight, and you could say, oh, well, you can put this on, and now they can see, wow, you could give him this medication, you can do this habit, you can change this food. But it isn't that simple. It isn't that simple. But if my kid did have a measurable eye deficiency, I would give him glasses. So we did try medication, and for us, it was night and day. And Dashiell will be the first one to say, I feel better on my medication. And does it mean we're on it forever? I don't know. Does it mean it's right for you? I don't know. Like, it's I would never say that one thing is right for everybody. The only thing I say that every parent needs is a different mindset, which is seeing the child as a child that is just developing in whatever ways that looks like. And so what we need to be is malleable and flexible and aware, because knowledge is power.
Now, one thing that I want to talk with you a little bit, and I think that's going to help a lot moms to reframe this, and is when it's our child, it's very scary because we want the best for them, because the reality is we know that we live in a world that doesn't handle very good diversity.
Yeah.
But then I was thinking when you were talking is there is been a move of how many very successful,
Mm-hmm.
very like millionaires, billionaires that now being an adult are like,
Yeah.
I'm being diagnosed and
Yeah.
now I understand. And this has been
Yeah.
amazing because it's allowing me to do all these other things.
Yeah.
So, how that shows the part of like the label itself doesn't have any value. What can be very scary and very bad and very fearful as a child, at the same time is something that I will even say that is a new trend of entrepreneurs and successful people
Mhm.
being
Mhm.
proud to say, "Oh, I have ADHD. Oh, I never was
Yeah.
diagnosed, but I have ADHD, or I am on the spectrum of
Yeah. Yeah.
neurodiversity."
It's
And
cool now.
it, it's cool for adults.
Yeah.
And then I think that that is the magic part and the magic link that you
Mhm.
offer to parents, and is that you are allowing parents to translate that and say,
Yeah.
you don't have to wait until you are 30 to make it cool when you're an
Yeah.
adult and reflect back.
Yeah.
Your child can start seeing it as something cool and something different for them to do, to grow up with as a
Yeah.
child. I was thinking on, that my child is bilingual, and it was that I move it like that. So now sometimes he's like brown, and I said like, yeah, brown is in English, café en español, and he's like, no, brown. And then I go like, yeah, Daddy speaks English, Mommy speak English and Spanish, and Elliot speak English and Spanish. So that is two. That is more
Yeah.
than one. Like you coached me one time. So that part is how these moms can overcome that initial fear, that
Mhm.
initial shock, and then start helping their child to not be prisoner of that label, but
Mm.
to learn to thrive with that. Like, I know that you call it a superpower and something that is cool, that give them at some specific things, some things that are unique. As a neurodivergent, their
Yeah.
brain works different. I love that we start understanding that different is not bad. Is
Yeah.
that like, I love what you said, it's changing every day, because those
Yeah.
neurodivergent brains, we are just starting to learning them.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that is the only thing that means that we have centuries of data on um, the brain,
Yeah.
but we are just starting to search and understand those neurodivergent. So how moms
Yeah.
can, moms and, and parents
Yeah.
and caregivers
Caregivers. Yeah.
can help on that path to get over themselves and finding. I think that for you is huge. Is not, my child is not broken, and then second
Mhm.
one, is not my fault. So how we
Yeah.
can go from those two, how we can get out of those two, and then after we get out of those two, how we can start actually helping our family to thrive.
Yeah. I mean, the very, very first thing is if you what's your first reaction? And if it's fear, don't show it, and deal with it, and work with somebody, work with a coach, or read a book, or get a support group, and find people that say that can help you, because it's just a belief is just a thought that we think over and over and over again. So now all we have to do is stop thinking that one thought over and over again. It's bad, it's bad, it's bad. And think, I don't know if it's bad, and I don't know if it's good. Like, we don't know. um and but what we can do is have hold the belief, everything always works out for me. You know what I mean? So, oops, sorry, everything always works out for me. And so if you do that, then, sorry, somebody is trying to call my son who's not here. So there is always a way that you can carry the belief and change the belief, and to say, I just don't know, because we jump into the future and of the worst case scenario. And it doesn't even mean that we're going to go best case scenario, that it's going to become, Richard Branson or Michael Phelps, like we just, or Simone Bowles, is that her name? Biles, anyway. But she's the gymnast. And, it doesn't mean that we need to go that far either. It's just I don't know what this child's going to become. And it's not my place to even define what they're going to become. My place is to be the Sherpa and create a safe place and a safe environment with safe tools, so that this person, can find the best version of themselves that they can. But we have to change our own beliefs and fears first.
And
Does
I
that make
think,
sense?
yeah, I think that that's important, because one thing that I learned, and this applied to every child, including a dear human developing, and that is, you are the caregiver,
Hmm.
You are the one that needs to make them feel safe and that everything is okay. And children are very receptive and feel. So if your child is sensing that, almost the same, like if you are scared about leaving him with the babysitter, your child will say like, oh crap, mom is really scared about this, this is not safe, I am
Yep.
not okay with this. It's the
Yep.
same with that. If you are handling that diagnose and you are very scared, then your child is reacting to that and say, oh my god, this is scary, this is not safe, I don't know what
And
is
what
going
are
on.
you scared of? I mean, ask yourself, really, what are you scared of? He's going to be different. He's going to be bullied. He's not going to get a job. He's not going to be smart. Like, what are you scared of? And then go through each of those. And then how will you handle it? He might be bullied. I mean, it's not an easy place for neurodiverse kids in a traditional school. So you got to, okay, so what are my options? How am I going to handle that? And giving them the power to be able to talk about it and feel comfortable with it. I mean, the other thing is, I talk about it in our house like it's wearing glasses. There's certain things you can't do if you're wearing your glasses. There's certain things that make it harder for you to, you don't swim in your glasses, so you adapt to everything. And so I have a neurotypical child, and when I'm trying to explain something that Dashiell's very impulsive, or he at late at night, it's hard for him to play games with his brother, and his brother's like, well, I don't understand that. I know, and you don't understand how he likes peanut butter and you don't like peanut butter, and you like bananas and he doesn't like bananas. So that I just normalize it. That's important. You just normalize it. And when he's being impulsive and he's getting frustrated, you know what? This is your brain. This is just your monkey brain, feeling a little bit wild and not being able to calm down. But we know the tools that we use. We talk a lot about the red zone, the green zone, the orange zone. We use a lot of images, like a battery. You know what? Your battery is really empty right now. And when your battery is empty, it's very hard for you to do academics and for you to play a game and focus. My other son, when your battery is low, it's really hard for you to fall asleep. And so I just normalize it, that it's not bad or good, it's just different.
I love that, and I think that that is going to be one of the biggest game changers for all the families that are handling this. As stop thinking that because it's different is bad and label it good or bad. And I
Yeah.
will say even stop trying to make them fit into what society is making you believe that is acceptable. I love how you are handling the child. Is not that your way to do it is good and he needs to try his best to do it like that, and if
Yeah.
not there is something wrong with him. It's just like there is a different way to do it. And I
Yeah.
love how you're saying the normalize, and that is why I love how you, with your programs and your coaching, you are
Yeah.
helping moms to go through the journey of handling all their beliefs or their emotions and then normalizing them for them. You touched two things that I want you to briefly, because I know that in your course you go a lot deeper into this, but you talk about two things that I would love for you to talk a little bit more, and that is your green, yellow, red lights, and then the batteries. Because
Yeah.
those, I think, are going to be very easy tools for people to start thinking about and start playing around, so that when they decide to reach out to you to go even deeper with one of your courses, then they have some of that foundation.
Yeah. So I really love the zones of regulation, and it's the blue, green, orange, and red, because now we can visualize it and we can talk about how you're starting to get you're playing this video game and it's starting to get you really hyper, and it's starting to get you really and how I can see that is you're talking faster, you're moving faster, you're starting to, when I give you a warning that you have about 10 more minutes, you're snapping at me. This is what happens when you play this game. So let's be really clear, what are the identifiable markers? And so when you're in this, you're in the orange zone, moving to the red zone, which might be that one more person does something toxic in this game and you're going to blow up, and then you're going to get mad and you might throw the game and the headset. And the key for parents to remember is there's no teaching and there's no lessons and there's no correcting in the red zone. You know that when you are so pissed, something horrible has happened, the last thing you want is somebody to say, listen, if you don't calm down, you're not getting dinner tonight. If you don't calm down, I'm going to say you can't look at Instagram later. You're going to be like, don't you see what's happening? My head is about to explode. I'm so mad. And so we need to do is help them de-escalate, get back to the green zone. So find a way to be like, wow, this is really, your body is up in this red zone. What can we do? We know that going and taking a bath calms you down. Watching a cartoon that's really, a Disney cartoon helps calm you down. Have you eaten? Let's look at all the different stressors that could be happening. Is it late? Have they had to do an hour of homework on top of that was really stressful? So it's not even just that moment at school all day. They might have had to really work hard to not notice the buzzing light and the three kids that are sitting next to them that are tapping their pencils. Like, it's an all day process that is running down this battery to where they have nothing left. And now the red zone is going to happen faster and easier, and it's harder to get down. But if you think of it, and we do exercises in my course or with me that are like, know what those are, because you need to know what the orange zone is, because you need to stop it before it gets into the red zone. Restore before, restore the child back to green before they get to red. And then you can start noticing. And then, I can say the next night when he says, I want to go play a video game, hey, do you remember what happened last night? It was the same time. It was really hard for you. It's not me saying, no, you can't handle it. I want you to remember these things. And then I might even give him another chance. Like, hey, I'm going to let you, because I want you to really take notice of what happens. And I'm going to point out to you, hey, you're starting to get a little bit more loud. You're starting to be a little bit not kind to people in the game. You're starting to, when your body is hot, it really is uncomfortable for you. So do you want to go through that again? And sometimes he'll just be like, no, I don't. And he'll make the decision. And that ideally is what we want for our children. We want them to make the decision. I do this with food. When they're eating a lot of sugar, it's not like, listen, I'm your mom and I told you not to eat any sugar. Your future body, your body right now and your future body do not want you to eat all that sugar. Your body, you have a liver and you have a kidney and you have a stomach and you have all these parts inside you, your lungs and your heart, that want the healthy food, and you're choosing. And so, do you really want to do that? And usually they'll say no. And then it's not me, it's your body, it's you.
And in that one, I want to go a little bit more because there's a lot of tools that they can go deeper there. But I want to, part of the normalizing um, is normalizing the fact that, and I will even say that this is not for a dear human in developing, this is for all our children.
Mm-hmm.
Using this kind of approach requires extra work from us.
100%, which is why
So
a lot of people don't choose it. It's
that is
much
why a lot of people,
easier to give consequences.
absolutely. So on that one, because then I think that that is a part that not a lot of people talk about on this approach, and we talk about, oh yeah, there is an approach, yeah, it's going to be good, yeah, it's going to be good for your child. All of that is true, but what I'm saying is sometimes moms start doing it and then they are just exhausted and they're like, oh my god, why this is so challenging for me, why this is so hard, why I'm feeling so drained. So I love how you are like, yeah, it is, it requires, mentally it requires you to be present and aware and looking at the picture a lot more than doing it unconsciously. And it's the same for why people don't eat mindfully, why people don't move mindfully, because it requires additional energy. So for those moms that are looking into working with you and helping their children, how they can also understand that is normal, that require more energy from them, and how they can fill their own battery so they can be there
Yeah.
for their children and have the capacity to have that extra energy spent on
Yeah.
supporting them in their journey?
So I don't actually think it takes a little bit more upfront, a little bit more mental energy, and a little bit more. But I would tell you that over the long run, it's actually easier because the energy and the stress it takes to yell, to give consequences, to follow through with the consequences, to put them in their room, to the guilt you feel, am I doing it right? Like that is all super stressful and takes a lot of energy too. So they're both take energy. It's just a different level. It's a different part of your brain. And it's a part of your brain that we don't use very often. The patience, the curiosity, the changing of the way we look at things, the reframing. Like, yeah, that is just we haven't been taught that ever. And it's just much easier. And I will tell you, so I don't have my kids in traditional school, partly, mostly because it's unpredictable and other kids are unpredictable and teachers are unpredictable and many reasons, and I'm not saying everybody does it, but I will tell you it is the harder choice. It would have been much easier to be like, just send them to school and I'll deal with how painful that will be, because there's so many things on the other side that I have to do, figuring out how to educate them and how to find friends for them and how to find healthy relationships and interactions. But um so we do want the easier choice, which is why we eat sugar a lot. We want the thing that feels good, instant gratification. But the reality is that for the long run, it isn't the easier choice, to fight and to give and I say give consequences because people are like, oh, I don't punish, I give consequences, because that's, you know consequence there's always a consequence to something, and that is true. But a punishment, a, a consequence that they think is they're doing, is a punishment that's given by an adult. I mean, so you're still giving an outcome that isn't natural. It is, taking away the iPad is not a natural consequence for breaking something, or throwing your shoe out the window, whatever it is, or not eating your breakfast. The natural consequence is that you're going to be hungry if you don't eat your breakfast, and they're not going to die, so you let them. That's a consequence that is palpable, but a consequence that has to do with something that gives you just a little bit more power than your child, which is the iPad and which is the friend's house. And that's still a punishment. It still is. And they don't work for the long run because listen, everything is a teaching moment. So if you are not teaching them how to handle that moment, then you're just teaching them, bless you. Then you're just teaching them fear. Okay, I got to do this because my mom said I'm going to lose the iPad and I don't want to lose my iPad. That's not learning how to do the most appropriate choice. I don't throw my shoe out because I don't want to walk around out the window, because I don't want to walk around all day with just one shoe, as opposed to I'm not going to throw it because my mom is going to take away my iPad. And so I don't believe in consequences and punishments, and I'm not very popular with a lot of people, but it's okay.
No, I think that two things that blow my mind, and thank you for educating me, is that is a paradigm that I had, and I'm gonna start shifting. And a lot of parents are like, "Oh, but it's take a lot more." And if you see it in like gentle parenting groups and all that, they say like, "Oh, it requires a lot more energy." But I love how you reframe it. It's like the reality is it doesn't. It may
Yeah,
require a little bit early on until you create the habits, but first it will take less long term, and then second it requires less energy than what? That
yeah,
you going into a full fight or flight response
yeah,
yelling, that requires energy too. So it goes back into the little thing that they say on working out is hard,
yeah.
being obese is hard, pick your heart. So it is matter of like, yeah, it requires some energy. Is that when you do it on the regular way, you are doing it unconsciously explosive, but you can choose to use the same energy into making it in a repeatable, reactable way. I love it. Now let's go talk about the
Hold
consequences.
on. I have to have a human moment here. Please forgive me. I forgot to plug in my computer and I have to go get the cord. Permission to be human. You just talk to the audience for 2 seconds and see even I make mistakes. I'll be right back.
Okay, cool. So one of the things that it's important to know is that the consequences. And I want to talk when she's come back about that part of the consequences, because that is also another mistake. And that is that we believe that there are not consequences. Consequences are not the same as punishment. And punishment is when I am intentionally, purposely hurting you, hurting your feelings because you didn't do something that I want. And I want to know, I want to go deeper with you into, do you really don't believe in consequences, or you don't believe in punishment and you are an advocate of natural consequences? Natural consequences are not something that I impose to
Right.
hurt you, but I let the natural consequence. I love your example. The natural consequence of you not eating breakfast is you're going to be hungry, and that's okay. And then
Yeah.
I can, like you say, every moment is a teaching moment. How parents can move into that part of saying, I can still help my child to understand that their actions had a natural consequence, and don't go into that gray zone to start almost, I would say, manipulating as an adult the natural consequence to be a punishment, because then as bigger as scary it is the natural consequence, then as more I'm gonna get the behavior or the reaction that I want as a parent.
I think if you have the thought in your head, they need to be taught a lesson. They need to learn a lesson. Like, what's the voice in your head versus, this is something they're going to need to understand as they grow up, versus they need to be taught a lesson. They need to, like, it's just in your own head. You've got to start with what is happening in your head versus, um, you know, because is it coming from a punitive place or is it coming from a loving place? Because a lot of people will say, well, if they don't learn that, they're not going to be respectful. And I just don't agree with that. I think that children learn way more by what we model than what we punish them into. My children are super kind children because I model kindness, not just with the people on the street and in the shops, but with them. I'm constantly super kind to them. And if in a moment I'm not kind to them, I will be like, that was gross. I wasn't kind. I'm sorry. And my son will even say, that wasn't very kind, mommy, the way you said that to Dashel. And I'll be like, you know what? I'm in the red zone. And sometimes when we're in the red zone, we say things that aren't kind. I need to get back down into the green zone. So thank you. Thank you for letting me know. Let me take a minute. Let me get back into the green zone. I am so sorry that I, yelled. That's what we do. That's what you do. That's what you do when we get in the red zone. So we try not to get there. So I lost my train of thought because I was going all over. But I think that the yeah, it's the imposing, it's the punishment. Is it coming from a loving place? Is it coming from a place of power that I need to teach you? Because they learn by how we treat them, how we treat other people around us, the words that we use. They're learning all the time. And if it's something that they're really struggling with, there might be another reason. If they can't sit down at the table, they just may not be able to sit at the table. It may be super hard for them.
I love that. Let's gonna go, so because this is an important part that I want to touch before we end the show, and that is you have something beautiful that is the North Star values, and why it's important to know those as a first step. So let's gonna very briefly touch about these. What are North Star values and why it's important for us to know them?
Yeah, if you don't know where you're going, then you're going to end up somewhere else, is what I say. So, for example, kindness is a North Star value for us. It's being kind to people around us, it's being kind to each other, it's being kind to ourselves. And so we model that. But so if I am talking about how to handle a behavior and I'm saying, be really strict with them, give them a punishment, then I'm not modeling this kindness value. So I think it's really important, because I'm going to come back. We do this at the beginning, because if you say, I just have to yell at him because he won't listen to me, I'm going to come back to that North Star and say, does that match with your North Star value? Right. So, we don't, I hear a lot of parents who are like, oh, I smacked my daughter on the bottom, or, in a fun way. And she'll be like, I don't like that, but it's so funny. Is that being respectful? You want her to be respectful to other people and to you, but but it's so funny. Or I jump out and I scare her and I think it is so funny. It's funny. Is it funny to her? You know what I mean? Like, is it funny? And, or, just the respect of, when they say they really don't want to eat something, and we say, you got to learn how to eat everything. Well, let's also go back and remember ourselves. I did not eat vegetables till I was in my 20s. And now I'm a vegetarian. You know what I mean? So we have this, like, if they don't eat all the vegetables by the time they're 8, they're never going to eat vegetables. It's just not true. We don't know. We always jump into the fear. We always jump into the fear. So, don't jump into the fear, and know what your North Star values are, and if they are, working hard, just remember, you also have to look around, what's the conditioning around that, right? I want them to be happy and successful. Well, what is happiness? Because what if happiness to them is to be a barista in the coffee shop? Well, that's not good enough. Okay, you said happy, but is it your happy or is it their happy? They want to be an artist and you want them to be a banker. So, okay, you don't really mean happy, so cross that off. Successful. Okay, well, what does that mean? They need to have money in the bank no matter what it takes. So is integrity important? Do they need to make money with integrity, or just no, just make the money, get it in the bank at all costs? Like, now it's going to come out in the way you parent. So if you know that kindness and respect and honesty are the most important things, then it's going to be what needs to come out, especially in the most difficult times. Patience. Is patience a virtue? Are you patient? And so, and if you're not, it's okay, because then you say to your children, ooh, patience is really important to us as a family. And you know who's not good at that? The mama. And who's going to work on it? The mama, because I can do hard things. And I know that patience is going to serve you later in life. And it would help me in so many more situations. So I'm going to practice it, and I need your help. So if I start to get impatient, you let me know. Let's have a code. Say Oklahoma if I'm not being patient. And then I'm going to remember, it's a journey. I'm working on it. When I know better, I do better.
Thank you so much. I love it, and I think I'm gonna just discuss with Justin about our true north, our North Star values. And now, when you were thinking, it's like how amazing it would be that every house had their North Star values made and framed and visible in their house, like every other decoration, so we can go back to them. And circling back into the end of the show, if other moms like me are inspired in our North Star values, and they want to share them and they want to put them in the social media, how they can tag you, how people can connect with you. I know that we talk about a lot of tools, and a lot of moms are like, yeah, that sounds amazing, Stace, but I don't know how to get from green to red and to red to green. How they can keep learning from you. I know that you have an amazing course that is changing the world of moms that are dealing with this Dear Human Develop. So how they can
Yeah.
connect with you, how they can reach out your course.
Well, I'm going to give you a secret, because the course is on Udemy right now and it's really cheap. It's Conscious Parenting ADHD, and it's really discounted. So I would tell you to go there. I don't know if this is going to air next year, but in January, the course is going to change. It's going to become live. There's going to be an ability to speak with me live every single week. But right now it's just self-directed on Udemy, Conscious Parenting ADHD. But next year we're revamping it, and it'll be much more interactive. And that'll be available at my website, happierbytheminute.com.
Okay. So you can follow Stace at happierbytheminute.com. And you know what? Do both. Go to Demi. I will
Yeah,
put in my social media the link. Stace will give it
yeah,
to me. Do it on your pace. Get a lot of questions and
yeah.
then be ready for January to do it live with Stace. Stace, thank you so, so much for being here and helping us to have a different perspective about neurodivergent people. This show can also be heard on the Spanglish Radio Network. Please check out www.spanglishworld.ca for all the news and programming. Spanglish World. Watch it, hear it, read it, download it, and live it.
Thank